Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Tuesday, October the 27th, 2020. On today's show, former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath joins me. He does each and every single Tuesday to break down South Carolina's 52-24 loss to the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. We'll talk offense, defense, special teams, Will Muschamp, what went right, and mostly what went wrong as South Carolina suffers a tough defeat in Baton Rouge, falls to 2-3 on the season. We'll also look ahead to the bye week. What does South Carolina most need to improve on, and what can they salvage in the rest of the 2020 football season? Before we get into everything, this is a podcast brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention other companies simply can't offer because they're too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Service, guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the rest of the moving companies. They're not a trucking company, guys. They are a moving services company, and they're also employee-owned co-ops. Their movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone in the crew is just invested in the success of the project. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they offer black glove service as well. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom craning, and packaging for special items, and cleaning services as well. By the way, guys, they are founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni. They offer 20 years of project management and moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, again, Upstate Movers Group, the service is what separates them from everyone else. I've had the pleasure of meeting these guys. They're awesome. They're really great. When you're having someone move your stuff, take care of your stuff, the moving process can be an absolute nightmare. You want someone there who's going to make that transition, that process seamless for you. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Check them out, upstatemoversgroup.com. You can also find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. Again, that's upstatemoversgroup.com, and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. The Spurs Up Show is also brought to you by our friends over at Yardware. Yardware is a veteran-owned and operating company licensed by the University of South Carolina, selling must-have Carolina yard and wall signs. These signs, they are made out of 12-gauge laser-cut steel, and they come in both garnet and black. Guys, football season's here. Football season is in full swing. Christmas is right around the corner. Holidays are here, guys. You can order yours today at yardwaresigns.com. You can go to yardwaresigns.com or find them on social media at yardwaresigns. Guys, I have one in my studio. You guys, you can put this thing anywhere. Your studio, your office, your man cave, your living room, your yard, obviously. It's extremely high quality as well, and it only charges $34.95. These things are only $34.95, and it's a must-have for every Gamecock fan. You need to get one for yourself, but if you're trying to gift buy for a Gamecock fan, this is something, it's a must-have. It's something they absolutely have to have. Again, guys, you can find yours, yardwaresigns.com. That is yardwaresigns.com, or check them out on social media at Yardware Signs. Finally, the Spurs Up Show is also brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Guys, between the NFL, college ball, MLB playoffs, there's no shortage of games to watch. And with thousands of lines available on all your favorite sports and events, you can turn your game day into payday with MyBookie. Guys, if you're the type of person who likes to back the big favorites, consider putting money, a couple of those, in a parlay for a much bigger payout. Guys, not only do parlays make meaningless games exciting, but more importantly, they give you a chance to turn ordinary bets into a real moneymaker. And don't forget, the underdogs as well. They have a ton of value. As Gamecock fans, we all know about the underdogs. We all know about being the underdog, and we all know the underdog has a ton of value. The thing about it is, in the NFL at least, is that underdogs are never really dogs on Sunday. Every team truly has a chance to win, and you do as well. Game spreads, championship futures, and player prop bets. It's never too late to get in on the action and start turning your sports knowledge into actual cash in your wallet. Guys, you can sign up today at MyBookie, and when you do, go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code Gamecocks. Again, that's mybookie.ag, promo code Gamecocks, to claim a deposit match dollar for dollar all the way to $1,000. What that means all the way to $1,000, if you put in $1,000, you go to mybookie.ag, put in promo code Gamecocks, they are going to match it dollar for dollar with a free play. So that means a free play. You put down money. If you lose, you don't lose the money. If you win, you keep the money, guys. It's literally a win-win scenario. It's a bonus designed to give you a little bit of help and a head start in your winning season. Again, that's mybookie.ag, promo code Gamecocks. Mybookie.ag, promo code Gamecocks for you to claim your bonus when you make your deposit. Again, guys, stacked UFC cards, presidential prop bets, all the major sports bets, and more. You can sign up today at mybookie.ag, promo code Gamecocks. That's mybookie.ag, promo code Gamecocks to begin your winning season exclusively at MyBookie. Let's get it. Each and every single Tuesday. He's going to try to help me break down just what went wrong on Saturday night as the Gamecocks fall to LSU 52-24. Former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath joining the show. Alex, appreciate you taking the time. First things first, great to see your face here on a Monday afternoon. Obviously, show coming out Tuesday, but great to see your face. How was your weekend overall, sir?
It was a good weekend, man. It was a good weekend. Just a bunch of stuff around the house and settling in to watch what turned into a whooping.
Yeah,
Saturday night. So, we'll just, you're talking about, let's recount everything that happened. It'd probably be much quicker to talk about what actually went right for us than what went wrong. So,
yeah, I had somebody ask me, what are the positives? And I was like, I can name the positives that happened on Saturday night in probably under 10 seconds. The rest of it obviously will take hours and hours and we dissect and all, but let's dive into it. Let's talk about the game again. You want to try to talk about positive, but again, we can nail them out. Kevin Harris, Kevion Mullins, Ernest Jones, boom, there's your positives. Now, getting to what actually happened in the game, South Carolina again, falling 52-24. I was in the stadium, obviously. I was in Baton Rouge, and it felt like it was going south from the jump when I saw LSU shoving us around. Their offensive line just bullied South Carolina's defensive line all night. You give up 276 rushing yards. TJ Finley, the freshman quarterback, looks like a Heisman candidate. I want to start on the defensive side of the ball because, again, that is Will Muschamp's forte. That is supposedly his calling card. He is supposedly a defensive guru. And, again, I know you're a little bit more of an X's and O's guy than me, Alex, because you actually played. So I'll ask you, watching the game, what was your takeaway as far as what was the defensive game plan? Can you help me understand what the game plan was? Because going in that game, one of my keys to the game was bring the heat. I thought South Carolina was going to be, or needed to be very aggressive, getting after TJ Finley, causing havoc, getting him under duress. Again, his first ever start. He's a true freshman. And, dude, it looked like a 7-on-7 back there. When you have a running game like he had, it's going to make it really, really easy on any quarterback. But 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hurries for the South Carolina defense. What did you see from the defense as far as a game plan perspective? What do you think they were trying to accomplish?
I honestly, I have no idea. The whole time we were just sitting there talking about, well, the only thing we can do, it's a freshman making his first start, put him in uncomfortable situations. And our game plan seemed to be the opposite of that. We didn't have 1 sack, and they also didn't punt.
Did not punt the whole game. Did not punt the entire game.
I dare to speculate what the game plan was, but it didn't look like we had one.
Yeah,
just I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Again, it looked like 7-on-7 for TJ Finley, and it truly, like I said, it was baffling because I knew LSU was a good team coming in. I knew they had talent over the field, and I knew even with Finley, I picked South Carolina to win. I saw a path to the win, but I knew in the back of my mind, hey, LSU's got talent. It's still going to be a challenge. But, again, year 5 of Will Muschamp, I talked about it'd be a bigger indictment on him if the defense was average or suspect or whatever. And I talked about this on the Monday podcast. I talked about it on the Daily Crow. You can't depend on what you saw in the Auburn game week after week. You can't depend on 3 interceptions. You can't depend on the other offense just being so inept. And I feel like now, again, Carolina going into the bye week, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, they're going to try to figure things out. But I feel like the book is written on how to attack this South Carolina defense. Stick to the run, be stingy in the run, and just throw away from J.C. Horn, and you're going to have success. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like the book is written on this defense at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it worked just like, I mean, when we talked about last week after the Auburn game, it was really, LSU's got great talent on the outside, and, what Auburn failed to do was to move Seth Williams around, and so he was always that matchup with J.C. Horn, and what LSU was able to do was move Jefferson around and get him in the slot and hit some quick hitters with him and give him a chance to be explosive. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what everybody's going to game plan on. Like, if we can't get pressure with, 4 guys, then you got to bring 5. And we didn't do any of that this weekend. So I'm as lost as you are on that.
Yeah,
I don't really even know how to break it down from an X's and O's standpoint, just because I have no idea what they were attempting to do.
Yeah. Even Ed Orgeron Sunday afternoon said that, he saw South Carolina a lot of 4-man fronts, and he said he was surprised South Carolina did not bring pressure more. And I'm sitting there like, if he's saying that, like it's one thing for us to say it, but for Ed Orgeron to be saying, it's like, hey, Coach O, we're surprised too. Trust me.
We all are.
I want to just get your take on this, Alex, because South Carolina, for whatever, I was almost making light of it Saturday because, listen, I was I was very fired up for the game, and maybe I drank some of the Kool-Aid last week and was giving Carolina the benefit of the doubt, but I really did see a path to a win. You saw a reeling LSU team. They had their off-the-field issues. Miles Brennan was out. Their team as a whole obviously lost a ton from last year, and they've been having their struggles, whatever. I saw a path to a win. But it was funny. I was making light of this Saturday on social media because I saw so many Carolina fans leading up to this game, especially late in the week, Friday, and then day of Saturday, saying, I'm just scared we're going to make this guy look like Cam Newton 2.0. We're terrible against first-time quarterbacks. We're going to make this freshman look like a Heisman contender. And I actually made light of it Saturday, which maybe I pissed off the football god, so maybe it's on me. But when you go back and you look, how poorly South Carolina has done. I mean, the last 2 performances that stick out, Saturday and then Sam Howell's first game with North Carolina and what he did for the Tar Heels. Like, again, we're both kind of sitting here scratching our heads clueless as far as what the game plan was Saturday. I mean, do you think there's any rhyme or reason why first-time quarterbacks just have been able to shred South Carolina's defense, especially with Will Muschamp at the helm? Like, is there anything it can be attributed to? Again, I know it's a large sample, like, as far as, asking you to pinpoint 1 or 2 things, but, like, again, maybe I'm just trying to, because people have been asking me, and I'm like, I don't understand how you can have less success against true freshmen that are unproven, that are kind of going out there and they're puppies. They don't even know what they're doing, and yet they are shredding your defense. Like, I genuinely just do not understand how that can be a thing for Carolina football.
It's really the exact same thing in both instances, and that you just got out-coached.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing against North Carolina. You're not going to bring pressure. You're not going to change stuff up. You're going to kind of keep it relatively simple from a defensive standpoint, and that's playing right into their hands. Because as a freshman, typically they're not going to ask you to do a whole lot, so you're not going to go out there and try to outthink the room. And if you're not going to show them, or if you're not going to shift coverages, if you're not going to bring pressure from weird angles, like, you're just playing directly into their hands. You're making them comfortable. And that's what we did. We made him comfortable, and that confidence grew over the course of both of those games.
For sure. Now, offensively, obviously, it's funny. The performance almost of the South Carolina offense, to me at least, got overshadowed. And not in a positive way, because, again, there's a lot of bad things that happen on the offensive side of the football. But I've been talking more defense because the defense just played so pitifully bad. But offensively, one of the hot topics has been the quarterback position, which I want to dive into because that's the easiest position to attack, right, Alex? That's the guy. He's taken all the snaps. It kind of all falls on his shoulders. He's just like the head coach. He's just like a coach in the sense he gets too much of the credit when things go well, and he gets too much of the credit or blame when things go poorly. So we all understand what comes with being a starting quarterback, especially in the SEC. But you take a look for South Carolina offensively. Again, I had a sick feeling in my stomach early in the game, being in the building. I mean, again, you get that long run with Kevin Harris and you tie the game at 7-7. But I knew seeing LSU move the football the way they did, it did not bode well for South Carolina. South Carolina simply is just not built offensively, especially. They're not built to win a game like that. They're not built to get into a Big 12 scoring match where you've got to score 40 or 50 to win the football game. The Gamecocks, which it's kind of ironic, LSU did to South Carolina what I think South Carolina wants to do to everybody else, or what South Carolina's been doing this year. They won time of possession. Yeah. LSU held the ball for 37 minutes, which is crazy, but they won time of the possession. They had these long drives. They got those back-breaking third downs. Hell, LSU was 8 for 10 on third downs in this football game. They played the brand of football South Carolina wants to play. And when you saw the Gamecocks get to a point where you're down 21 and you really just feel like you have to throw the football at that point, it was like all of my worst fears came to reality. And the stuff that I was scared about in the preseason, you've got lack of options on the outside. And when defenses take away Shi Smith, which LSU basically did. I mean, he had 2 catches, and really both those catches were like sweet passes that they're counted as a pass and a catch or whatever. But you take him away, there just aren't enough weapons on this South Carolina offense. And I know everyone's putting it on Colin Hill. And listen, he played the worst game of his short South Carolina career at this point. But just talk about as a whole, and then we'll dive into specifics in a second, what you saw from the South Carolina offense. Because, again, really the one positive you can pull from this game, and again, in the midst of it, it's a small positive because it's overshadowed by all the negatives, but Kevin Harris is a beast. Like, Kevin Harris and Deshaun Fenwick are a very reliable 1-2 punch. And again, I think that's been well established, but it's kind of a shame that South Carolina fell behind the way they did because you were unable to get the ball in Kevin Harris's hands. He only had 12 carries, averaged 10 yards a carry, but he only had 12 carries. But as a whole, what you saw from the Gamecocks offense on Saturday night?
I mean, off the top of my head, it was just like we took way too many sacks. Yeah. And I don't know if that is a measure. 5
sacks in total. 5 sacks in total. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had a bad pick 6, which, that happens. So be it. But, we took way too many sacks. It just doesn't look like we're not built to play down 3 touchdowns. Mostly because we kick field goals when we're down 3 touchdowns, which I guess we can get into later.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But, it's a lack. And I don't know if it's a lack of flexibility because of personnel, but when you get down like that, we've got to open it up and give him or Colin or whoever's standing back there better options than we're giving him right now. Or if that means you got to, throw Luke and Dak in there every once in a while to change it up. It's just like it's a lack of flexibility on that front, which I would tell you is the most concerning thing looking at it.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, again, I just think it speaks to South Carolina is not built to compete in a game like that. Like they need to – South Carolina needs to muddy it up. It needs to be almost kind of like a sloppy game. Your defense has to play really, really well, and South Carolina's offense just kind of grind out a win. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be a score-at-will offense.
No, it's not. But at the same time, like that comes back to, I know we were talking about it last week, is the most, positive coaching hire of the year with Bobo. But at the same time, like that happens. Like you're going to get down at some point in the season in a game that you need to win. Yeah. And to not have the tools readily available to you to go out and compete in that situation is the most troubling part of it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we'd rather we want our stat line to look like LSU's did, where we control the ball for 60% of the game and we got a ton of first downs. We're really efficient on third down. Yada, yada. That's not going to happen every week.
Right.
And so there has to be something sitting there where, we're down. We got to go score points. Let's go do it. And we don't have that. And I don't know why. And it can't be, we don't trust the receivers.
Right.
Like, because at the end of the day, like you guys recruited him here, you're coaching him, like just stick him out there and let him go play.
Right.
Like if you're down 3 touchdowns, who cares?
Well, and that's my biggest.
At the same time, we get in the red zone, we're kicking field goals down 3 touchdowns. So I mean, that's my biggest thing as far as why I want. People ask me, who do you want to be the next head coach? I'm like, just making an offensive-minded head coach, because I agree with you, especially in today's college football. Again, I said this going into the season. I was like, hey, you can get to 5-5, maybe even 6-4, with the type of philosophy instilled and the type of team that I think Will Muschamp built and he wanted to have, whatever. But in today's college, well, like you said, you're not going to be able to do that every week. Like, you're going to have to score points to win.
And I'm just saying, like, just call it for what it is. This South Carolina football team is not built to win a game 42-40. It's certainly not built to score 50. But it's just simply not built right now for whatever reason to win a game like that. Let's address the elephant in the room, by the way, Alex, which is the quarterback position. And I want to ask you, because I said this on the Monday show, because I know a lot of people, again, it's the most popular guy to go after. He gets too much of the credit and too much of the blame, whatever. But it's the popular guy to go after. And I certainly understand the criticisms of Colin Hill. When you look at his stat line, he had a very Colin Hill game. It was very consistent with what he's done this season. A touchdown and a pick, and really you can put at least half of the blame on the pick on Jalen Brooks for quitting on the slant route. But yeah, Colin had a very Colin Hill game. The problem, and I understand, I do understand fans' gripes with Colin because he's a statue and you're giving up 5 sacks. There's too many sacks. When South Carolina gets in a scenario where they're down 21 or 28 or whatever, and you feel like they have to throw the ball, I mean, that's got to be a defensive lineman's dream. It's got to be a pass rusher's dream to know, pin your ears back. This guy's not mobile. He can't move. And Colin, I understand he's had 3 ACL surgeries. The moment he senses pressure, he collapses, right? I mean, he just kind of gives way. It just kind of is what it is. But I said this on the Monday show, and I just say this frankly, because a lot of people are clamoring for Ryan Helinski. Heck, some of you are even clamoring for Luke Doty, the true freshman. I still don't think there's really a better option on the roster. And I'm not happy saying that because, again, as much as we've backed Colin Hill and I've praised him for being steady Eddie and having that steady hand, like the fact South Carolina does not have a better option kind of speaks volumes to what they've done as far as recruiting and development. You know what I mean? Like it's not a knock on Colin, but his ceiling is so low. Like I understand people's frustrations, but I'd still say, Alex, and again, I want to get your take. I still think Colin Hill is probably the best option you have available right now.
So I think the answer is twofold. Yes, I think Colin Hill's the best option available to you because of the scheme. If we had any flexibility in that, there are better options.
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine. We can't, if we don't have the type of receivers to run the types of routes that we're asking them to run, how do we adjust that and bring in some more flexibility to the quarterback position?
And basically you're saying if we were flexible in scheme as far as like, because I'm like equating it to if Mike Bobo was willing to say, hey, we're going to go with Luke Doty and run an RPO system. Like I'm going to completely change my philosophy as far as like, we're not going to be under center as much. We're going to incorporate quarterback run, like fitting the scheme to the player. Like you're okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which again, going back to our first show of the season was my biggest fear of this whole experiment was that, we've got these QBs on the roster that may not fit what he's trying to do. Is he going to mold his system to that, or is he just going to do what he's going to do? And
be stingy in his system. Like he's stingy in the system, basically.
Correct. And here we are.
Right. I will ask you this. Do you, because I definitely hear what they're saying. Do you understand fans' gripes that say, why would you not start Ryan Helinski because he's the quote unquote, like he's the future per se. If they're both kind of similar, because I will say this to you, Alex, if you get to a point, and the tough thing about this is, when do you define this? And you've been in a locker room. There's no point where you feel like, oh, the season's just a wash. Like whatever, doesn't even matter. The season's a wash. Like you're fighting every snap, every second. That's how it should be in the locker room. But I just sit and think to myself, if you get to the point where the season's a wash, again, you got A&M after the bye week. And again, it's tough to define when this is. I would have no problem, if nothing else, getting Ryan Helinski and Luke Doty much, much more involved, because in a way, I understand fans saying like they are the future. Both of them are going to be at South Carolina, you assume. I mean, assuming nobody transfers, whatever. They're both going to be at South Carolina far beyond when Colin Hill will be at South Carolina. You know what I mean? So like, what do you think about that, fans, as far as clamoring for Helinski because of we need to play for the future and not necessarily worry about playing this Colorado State transfer and salvaging whatever in 2020?
I mean, in any instance, the backup quarterback's the most popular man on campus
Right.
at most places. So
Right.
I throw a lot of it to that.
Especially when the backup quarterback's name is Ryan Helinski and he played last year and he has his family story. I know people don't like to hear it, but those factors factor in a ton. So I don't disagree. And I'm not calling for a quarterback change, but that's obviously a very hot topic right now. And like, again, I will say one of the things that was sort of annoying, it wasn't surprising, but Ryan Helinski nor Luke Doty getting any snaps at the end of the game in a 28-point blowout. Like, I understand fans.
Weird.
I understand fans being upset at that.
100%. And yeah, I mean, I would like to see him play just because to build for the future, or just more than anything else, see what else you got.
Mm.
Like, you can play him in practice all you want to, but until you put him in live fire situations, you don't know what kind of moxie anybody has. So, yeah, throw him in there. What does it matter? You're down 4 scores.
I mean, especially in a year that doesn't count. It's like, again, because I know a lot of fans, again, clamoring for Luke Doty. Like, I say this. Luke Doty, I think he's a true freshman. I don't think he's ready, and I don't necessarily want to just throw him in the fire. And, because if he goes out there and gets beat up, it might wash his confidence. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to do that to Luke Doty. And then Ryan Helinski, we know what he offers. I don't think Ryan does anything that Colin Hill doesn't do. And Colin Hill knows the playbook better. And again, we've had this conversation before. Nothing has really changed. Colin Hill did not play a great game on Saturday night. We know that. Again, I don't think Colin Hill's built to play in a game like that. I don't think he's built to go out there and, hey, we're going to put it all on you. We're down 21, throw us back in the game. I think he is who he is. And Colin Hill kind of fits this football team in the sense that he's painfully average. And I say that being as nice as I can possibly say it, but he is. Yeah. He is who he is at this point, and it kind of fits this football team. But again, I do understand fans, especially at the end of the game, why are you not seeing these other options? And again, like, especially in a year, I just say with eligibility where it doesn't count, like, you don't even have to use a red shirt this year because the year literally does not count. Why would you not, like you're saying, want to get a guy's feet wet in an SEC game on the road? Because, again, you can do it in practice, and, and I'm not to pile on the kid, but it's like I told people about Jalen Brooks as far as temper your expectations for Jalen Brooks in his first game being eligible. Bro,
yeah,
we've heard unless your name is Steve Spurrier, there's no head coach coming out and ripping guys for their performance in practice. Everybody looks great. Everybody's in great shape. Everybody's playing well. I think Spurrier was one of the few that he just truly didn't give a damn. If you were playing like ass, he would call it. He would say, hey, he's not looking really good. Or, I'll just never forget some of the comments he had after practices about Clowney. And, I mean, these are legends. He was kind of giving them slights and getting under their skin. But, who cares how you look in practice? Like, get in the game, get your feet wet, go against some real SEC competition, and we'll go from there. And you can learn about your guys from there. So, I truly do understand the fans' frustration in that regard. Would there be a point in the season for you, Alex, where you would say, okay, you wouldn't have a problem per se, like Ryan Helinski or Luke Doty getting the start or playing a majority of the snaps? Like, would there come a point in time in the season where that's something you would be open to or want to see?
I mean, I would be open to it now. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the downside?
Yeah.
There's no eligibility to worry about. So, I mean, like, why not put them out there?
Right. And you're not playing for an SEC East title.
You are not.
Yeah, let's just be honest. Obviously, special teams was a complete nightmare. The kickoff return for a touchdown reminded me a lot of Deebo Samuel, what he did against Ole Miss 2 years ago. And then Parker White, off night for Parker, whatever reason. I saw one of the ones he missed. I was down on that side of the field. He basically just flubbed it like you would your 60-degree wedge, just flat out flubbed it, turf flying up. Knew he missed it straight off the jump, but that more so gets me to the point. Again, I'm saving the best for later in the show. Will Muschamp. It's so funny how Will Muschamp can he can just reel you in, and then he just stomps on your hopes and dreams and your heart and all your aspirations and everything else. And just when you think for a second, you may want to give him a little credit, you may have some feel good and some positivity. No, none of that. We're going to squash that, completely get rid of that. Again, it's just like Tennessee all over again. You have a 4th down situation. This one was even worse. Into the first half, 4th and 4 from the LSU 17-yard line. You are down 31-10. if you miss the field goal, it's a 3-score game. If you make the field goal, it's a 3-score game. So what is the upside to kicking the field goal? Alex, I genuinely I don't even know where to go from here as far as Muschamp and like the coaching decisions and stuff like that. It's just truly baffling. And I know Will Muschamp and no coach does this. No player, nobody on those sidelines is sitting there thinking to themselves, well, no, like they're not letting social media or fan takes dictate a decision, right? And if you're a head coach doing that, you're probably not a very good one. But at some point, bro, Will Muschamp knows what's said about him. He knows what people think about him. He knows he knows like the book that's been written on him by people. He knows what the naysayers say or whatever. I would think at some point he would get in a situation like that and be like, you know what? Everybody's expecting me to kick the field goal. Why don't we just go for it? Like, why not? Like, let me just break this trend, if you will. And I think a lot of it comes back to, and we saw this after the Florida game with the 7-minute drive to end the game and him adamantly defending it. And, we were saying it's baffling how right that he thinks that's the right decision. I think Will Muschamp just thinks he's the smartest guy 24/7. Like he does it in spite because he feels like he is just smarter than everybody when it comes. And again, Will Muschamp has shit out more football than I will ever know in my life. But it's something so obvious, it feels like. And it's like that is a microcosm of the team and the program he's built. And we talk about the offense as far as the identity of the offense, and that's all fine and dandy and whatever. But it's a microcosm of the team as far as that conservative mindset. It's just so painfully on brand to Will Muschamp. And again, here we are. I feel like a broken record. Like we're saying this again. This is the third time now that we've talked about an issue like this, from Tennessee to Florida and to now. Like what? I just want to know from you, what was going through your mind when they lined up for the field goal on 4th and 4 down 21 points? Like I have to imagine you just either were going irate or just shaking your head like, yep, this is fitting. This is very fitting.
I mean, honestly, the first thing that popped through my mind is that maybe Parker White's family has some serious blackmail on him. There's no other way to explain it. There's none. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I tried to give Champ the benefit of the doubt somewhat in the Tennessee game because it was 4th and 12, but it was 4th and 4 at LSU 17. I mean, in a game where you kind of at that point felt like and knew we cannot stop LSU. It's almost beyond words, and that's not a good thing for a podcast host to have because we're supposed to talk about it, but it's almost just beyond words. Like, what is there to say? What is there to say?
There's nothing else. We've said everything that you could be said about it, and you just rattled it all off. It's like he thinks he's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
He thinks he knows he's doing the right thing when he isn't, and he's never going to be talked out of it.
Yeah, and
it's the same reason we run a ball control offense. That's what he wants to do. He thinks that's the smartest thing to do, and he's the smartest person in the universe. So he's never going to do anything different.
Yeah, and I said that in preseason. This team was going to be Will Muschamp's dream. As far as he wants to be stingy on defense, have a ball control offense, and win games 24-21 in the year of our Lord 2020. When that is just not how college football is played. It's just not. That's not how it's played anymore. It's not. Hey, I mean, not to age you, but it's not 2005. It's not the early 2000s when teams were winning 17-14. That's
no.
You're not beating Clemson 13-9 or whatever. Like the 2005 Clemson Carolina game that I remember so vividly. That's just not football anymore. Those games. It's not 2006 Florida where it's 16-13. Nobody plays that way anymore. That's not how it's played. So
no, it's over. And it's just you look at and to not evolve as a head coach. I mean, look at Nick Saban.
Right.
They're scoring 50 points a game. They're putting up more offense than anybody on the planet right now, and because that's how you have to win. And he knows that. And I have no idea why you would think well, Nick's doing it this way, so but I'm going to keep doing it my way. And I'm
right.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah, I mean it's just baffling. I remember sitting there in the stadium. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I remember sitting there in the stadium lining it up, and I remember when Parker White missed it. And it might sound bad. It's nothing against Parker. I was like, I'm glad he missed it. I'm genuinely glad because you know what? when you make a call like that, you just kind of get what you deserve. You know what Alex, you're a golf guy, big golfer. You know what I equate it to? You're on the 9th hole. You're like 20 over, and you lay up on the par 5. Like, what is the point? Just go for it. What do you have to lose? Like, dude, who cares? And you know what happens when you lay up in that scenario? You thin it into the water. You thin it into the water. You get what you deserve. When you make and I won't phrase it to you the way I did on the Monday show because I use some explicitives that I don't want to bless your eardrums with, but when you make a conservative call, when you play conservative, you get a conservative result. I mean, that's just genuinely what happens. And again, I equate it to the golf thing so perfectly. It's like, why are you laying up on the par 5? It's not like you're a scratch golfer. You're not trying to protect the handicap, bro. Like, you're already behind the 8 ball. Just go for it. You might hit the green. Just go. You never know. It might be the one swing where you pull it off. And it's like, again, I just to quote it back to that, and it's like, you know what? I'm glad he missed it. We got what we deserved. That was a deserved result for that drive and for that call. And, whatever. Again, it's no offense to Parker White or his family or whatever dirt they may have on Will Muschamp, but I just, and you know what's bad? We have 5 more games left. And we're probably going to talk about that again at some point. Alex, I want to get your take as we go into the bye week here. As we go into the bye week, obviously you were in the locker room. Talk about what it was like being a player, whether coming off a win or loss, things you guys would work on in the bye week when you play. Like, what were the focuses? Was it really just fundamentals, or were you even thinking about the next opponent? Like, what was the bye week like for you guys in regards to trying to get better and figure yourself out as a team?
So during the bye week, it's going to typically be a little bit lighter of a week of practice. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through and refocus, and you're doing a lot of self-scouting and figuring out what your tendencies are and how you break those, and just perfecting what you're trying to do from an offensive and defensive standpoint. So no, like, they're not going to look at, next opponent this week. That's not going to happen until probably, I would say, Sunday or Monday of the following week. But that's really all you try to do is just work on your stuff internally and try to get better. So there's no focus on the next opponent.
For sure. And then I posed this question to our followers and on social media and stuff like that, because obviously this is a team, unfortunately, like I said, I feel like we're literally at the halfway point of the season. And I kind of feel like this team is.
Think about that.
Well, yeah, no, it's crazy. We're literally at the halfway point. We're 5 games through, got 5 more remaining. I kind of feel like I know what this team is at this point, and I don't know how much can change. It is a painfully inconsistent group that, it certainly has some individual players who can excel and who could change a football game and make big plays. We've seen that with Kevin Harris. We've seen that with Shi Smith. We've seen that with J.C. Horn. But overall, as a whole, it is a painfully inconsistent football team that the issues we thought kind of going into preseason are there. And defensively, we're much worse off than we thought. And there's holes in the secondary. And if you know that, again, the book is written on South Carolina right now, I feel like. I feel like it's not that difficult. It's pretty simple as far as how to attack South Carolina. But obviously, there are things this Gamecocks football team needs to work on, needs to get better at, holes they need to plug. What is the one thing, or maybe the main couple of things, you would like to, if you had a Christmas wish list or whatever, you had a wish list for the bye week, what is the thing you want to see this team improve most on as they head into this Texas A&M game after the bye week, which I think is going to be one of those must-win pivotal games, night game at home? What is that thing for you most want to see improve over the bye week?
And I'm guessing we're kind of constrained to, I can't wish for Will Muschamp to be fired and a more competent head coach replacing him.
Something realistic. Unfortunately, that's not realistic.
I'd love to see a new wrinkle added to the offense where you have some kind of competence in a hurry-up situation. And again, it goes back to, we had no sense of urgency against Florida. It took us 7.5 minutes to do a 2-minute drill. So, that is something I want to see accomplished more than anything. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, figure out a way to get pressure. Yeah. You got to bring five. We keep talking about, we got these all-world cornerbacks out there. They can be left on an island. or at least you keep telling us they can be.
Right.
And so, figure out a way to bring pressure.
I agree with you, by the way, the offensive wrinkles. Would you like to see personnel changes? Would you just like to see new plays added? I mean, I guess maybe a mixture of both. I mean, I'm sure you don't care as long as it's putting points on the board, but specific, because I agree with you. I'd like to see South Carolina get more creative offensively. I mean, you keep telling us and again, what Will Muschamp says, take it with a grain of salt. How he says they perform in practice, take it completely with a grain of salt. But from what we've heard, and we've seen it, heck, Dak Joyner, he's an athlete. Where is he at? How is he not touching the ball once? You keep saying how good of an athlete Luke Doty is. Hey, every time he gets in there and that little wildcat gets 9 or 10 yards, it's like, I agree with you. Like, where is the wrinkle? What are you doing to get your best athletes on your team the football? Because again, you're not going to be able to force feed it to Shi Smith every game. You can't count on him to have 8, 9, or 10 catches every game. You just can't do it. So again, back to my point, as far as wrinkles, do you want to see new personnel, new formations? Like what would you prefer to see?
I mean, it's all that stuff. It's like, if you have other packages that you can get the other guys in the game that adds an element to the offense, get them in there. And it can't, like, to your point, like, don't just force feed Shi Smith the football. Like, you got Kevion Mullins out there, you got Nick Muse, you got Josh Vann, you got Dak, you got Luke, you got all these other weapons out there that you could feature in some way. And it can't be, well, the offensive scheme is too complicated for them and, they're just not there yet. Well, then dumb it down. Like, get those guys the football. They're not doing you any good sitting on the bench with their helmet in their hand. If you got to take something off of the book to make it work, take something off the book to make it work. Like, it's just it's startling coaching malpractice.
For sure. And again, that's unfortunately, I've heard you say coaching malpractice more than once this season. And I'm sure it will not be the last time I hear you say that. Alex, appreciate the time as always. Last thing really quickly. I know you're a golf guy. Would you ever lay up on a par 5? You're not a layup guy, right? Like you're going to go for it, right?
Layups are for basketball, Chris.
Yes, exactly. It's like,
I mean, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing with the layup. And it actually perfectly encapsulates what you were trying to say. If you're not a low handicap golfer, I would say there's even less of a reason to try to lay up, because, like, at the end of the day, are you going to be any more accurate from 100 than you are from 220? The answer is probably not. Yeah, and so, like, you're really not hurting yourself trying to sling one up there.
The only thing worse than that guy is the guy that's like 270 out that has to wait for the group to clear off the green, because if I catch it, it might get there. It's like, no, bro, hit it. You're going to duff it 100 yards. Like, just hit it, bro. Like, save us. Again, that's kind of another one of those scenarios. You get what you deserve. It's like, dude, if you're just being this guy to being this guy, like, you're going to hit this fat or shank it, I'm going to laugh.
Oh, no. When the guy,
I'm sure you've dealt with that. I'm sure you've dealt with that plenty of times.
More than once.
Just, hey, like, if I catch it, I think it might get there. It's like, no. It's not.
And it's not even duffing it or hitting it fat. It's like 100% of the time that guy will cold top the ball 15 feet in front of him once the green is cleared.
Again, it's like, again, the golf gods have spoken. No, Alex, appreciate you taking the time, man. Always a pleasure. Enjoy the bye week. Obviously, we do have the bye week in South Carolina. Going to try to figure things out, but appreciate you taking the time, man. We'll do it again next week.
Absolutely, buddy.
As always, he's Alex McGrath. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the episode of the Spurs Up Show.